Welcome to another episode of Don't Panic Geocacher. My name is Arjen and I go by Waterfan5 on the geocaching.com website. This series is about puzzle and mystery geocaches, and this episode is called Easy as Pi, as I'm going to talk about how the number pi is often used in geocaching puzzles and how you can solve them, how you can recognize them, and also some of the tools that you can use to help you solve those puzzles. First, just a little bit about the number pi. You probably know what it is, but it always helps to have a little bit of a background. Pi is a mathematical constant, so it's a fixed number, which is very important here and something that we're going to use that doesn't end. It's an infinite amount of decimals, and it also doesn't repeat. And so there's many numbers out there, but pi is special because it talks about the ratio of the circle circumference to its diameter. And so it's a very unique number, but it's also a very well-known number. And that makes it ideal for puzzles. It's an infinitely long number, so it has an infinite number of possibilities how it can be used. And you see it being used all the time. There's many puzzles out there that reference pi or have some kind of relationship to pi. So what you should look for is, of course, anything that maybe mentions the number 3.14 itself, may talk about circles, but also March 14 in the US, 314 is known as Pi Day. And so caches published on that day, especially puzzle caches, may actually use pi in their part of their solution. So there's some of the things to look out for. And of course, pi sounds just like the yummy pie, right? So that might also be used as a disguise that we're really talking about here, about a puzzle that uses pi as part of the solution. So let's take a look at some puzzles that I've encountered over the time that I've been solving puzzles and how pi was used in those puzzles. I've created some puzzles here myself, and in this episode I'm going to show how to solve them and what to look out for when to solve them. So most common puzzle is something that I call the offset in pi. So I took a fictional location here, somewhere in France and Italy, and I'll show you the location in a second. And the puzzle here has two numbers, the N44 or 4.4 million and then a little bit, and E105. The ratio looks relatively close to the 45 and the 6, so you may think that it is related to that, so that maybe it's just a fixed ratio with the actual coordinates. But in this case, it is not. Clearly, I called it here offset in pi, so it's something pi related. And what we did for this puzzle is we kind of searched within pi and went to the certain position in pi. So in this case, we went to the, well, over 4 million digit in pi. So you see here a screenshot of one of the tools, and I will demo that tool in a second, that I used to find this decimal numbers in pi and then show those. And you see here that the number 4549 is actually the number of the coordinate, right, that we want to look for. And the same for the other number. So if we looked at those digits in pi, then we found 006, 5190. We combine those two numbers, see, they fit right within our range, and we get this number, which actually happens to be the location of the Mont Blanc, one of the mountains on that border of France and Italy. This is probably by far the most commonly used pi puzzle that you will see when you look at mystery puzzles. You're given two numbers and you have to look for that position in pi, and then you'll find partial or entire coordinates. It might be a single number, or they may give you a multiple of numbers and you have to look at all the different positions to basically construct a full coordinate. But the idea is the same. You search within pi and then find the digits that you look for. So I'm going to show you as well with the tools and basically solve the same thing so you see how the tools work and how we can solve this. So let me show you um, how we solve that puzzle, right? So I'm using NGO. There's other websites that do the same thing, but funny enough, um, this website has been as long around as I started geocaching, so it's always been a useful tool, and it can search pretty deep within Pi. So that's pretty nice. So for the first one, as I mentioned, it's the offset in Pi. So if you go to digits of Pi on this website, you'll find that there is two techniques. You can either search for a number or you can start at a number. So you see, there's websites that do more numbers. So, but this one goes pretty fast, and it can do pretty far deep into pi. So I'm saying here that I'm looking at the offset. So I'm saying, okay, well, show me this position. And when I type that in, it will see me right away. And here we get that number that we're looking for. Now, depending on the puzzle you're working with, they may only give you 2 numbers, 3 numbers, 4 numbers, and you may have to concatenate multiple together. But it might also be that they found the whole number all at once. Certainly possible, but you have to look pretty far into pi. And the same one with the second number that they gave us. So we look at that one, and you see we get that 006519110 number that we were looking for, and the puzzle is solved. Pretty quick, pretty straightforward. Of course, once you know what to do, right? Often you may have to try both techniques to see, am I looking for this number or am I searching for this number, or is it a completely different puzzle? But this is a very popular one for pi puzzles. The second one, kind of similar, but we're going to do it using the other way around. So we're going to look for the same coordinate, right? So it's going to be the Mont Blanc. Again, all the puzzles actually use that coordinate in this series. So, but here you see we've gotten a longer number, and actually 2 longer numbers that we need to look for. So of course you can try to find this number in pi, but it's pretty high up there, right? So most websites won't allow you to search that deep into pi. It's there, the number exists, but you would have to find the tool that would allow you to search like the billions position, and most tools won't allow you to do that. So most likely we're looking for something different here. So let's take a look, and we'll use it the other way around. Because what we're now going to do is, instead of saying, well, let's go to this position in pi, we're going to find this number in pi. So it's kind of the reverse of the previous puzzle that I showed you. There we looked at a position, and the position would give us numbers. Here we're looking for the numbers in pi, so part of the pi number, and then see at which position it is, and the position is the coordinate. The advantage of this is, of course, that every position exists, so it's pretty easy to make a puzzle like that. You just have to give the solver, the geocacher, enough numbers so it will be the first location that they encounter when looking for those numbers. So you see that right here. I used again the same tool, but now using it the other way around, searching for this number in pi, says, oh yeah, that number exists, and it's at this location, and that location is now my coordinate. The same for the other one, searched for the other number, and it was found at location 651,910, which then of course combined formed again the coordinate that I wanted to create. So kind of like I mentioned, it's the opposite, and most tools will allow you to search in both directions. Either say, give me the one at this position, kind of like how you make the puzzle, or give me where is the number at a location. And again, you can use that for making or solving the puzzle, depending whether you want to do a puzzle like puzzle number 1 or a puzzle number 2. And often it might be multiple pieces that you have to search and then combine. So you may have to try both techniques and see which one gives you the better numbers that you're looking for, right? So in this case, the 45 and the 6 or the 006 that I'm looking for. Is it the position or is it if I search for the value? Now for the second one, we go back to the same website, but we're now going to do it the other way around. So what we're going to do, same location, but instead of saying show me at a digit, is say show me if this number exists in pi. You can enter any number, right? But the longer the number, the less likely is that this website is going to find it. Now you see here, as I just mentioned, there's ones that have many more numbers, and so they can find it for you. But because pretty much every number is guaranteed to exist, right? Because it doesn't repeat, so it will just be very far in. So in this case, we're looking for a number, and as the puzzle maker, we had to make sure that the first position, or at least in this puzzle, was going to be the number we're looking for, right? Doesn't have to be, it could be this third entry of this, right? So, but you would have to use a different tool to find it. So we see here the first position where this number occurs is at this location, which is in this case our latitude, right? So we use the search for. And the same with the other one. Let's search for this number. Where does it occur in pi? Press search, and it will tell us, okay, this occurs at position 651910, which in this case is our longitude of our location. We combine them together, and we have solved the puzzle. We have our location. So this one combined with the other one is probably the most frequently used pi puzzles. Now, as I mentioned in the beginning, pi is a mathematical number. And so there's actually many ways to use pi in kind of like a math puzzle. So I probably used here the most straightforward example. If we think about a circle and think about the earth of a circle, coordinates kind of are like, where are you on that circle, right? So how much east, how much west, how much north, how much south, that's what these numbers tell you. And of course, pi, being all about circles, is then very easily converted to a position where we could say, okay, what percentage of pi are we doing here? What percentage of the full circle have we elapsed? And that will give us a north or a latitude and a longitude. So here we have two numbers. You can actually do it with one number if you want it, but then you have to use some different math. But in this case, I made it easy. I just say, kind of like this is the radian number. So radian degree, you may have heard of that. It's another way of measuring degrees. And it's anywhere between 0 and 2 pi, right? So there we have that pi number again. So this is basically the percentage of 2 pi. So we can, using some simple formula, we divide it by pi and times 180. Remember, 360 is a full circle in degrees. So if it's 2 pi to get full circle, 1 pi gives us half a circle. So we do that, and if we basically divide this number by pi and multiply it by 180, we get these two numbers. That's in the so-called decimal format. We now need to convert it back to standard GPS format. So similar with the other ones, I will show you again with the tools of how to do these steps, right? So that you can see the tools that I used in this scenario. So a quick other way to kind of use math to do that, but again, many other examples that can be used. Because even with just a single number, we could say we are here, and technically that gives us a longitude and a latitude, right? All of these have a unique location, so we can, with a single digit, we can get a lot of things out there by using the different positions on a circle. So for the math one, I'm using Wolfram Alpha. Probably way too powerful for what we want to do here. It's a simple conversion. There's many other websites that can do it. But I like this for my math puzzles. And as I mentioned, we have to divide this number by pi and multiply times 180, right? Half a circle. We can also do times 2. So say 2 times pi and then do a full circle. And we get here that 45 number, right? And we were looking for a number in the 45 range. Note this is a decimal degree number, so we have to do another step to get it in the more traditional GPS format. So we can store this number and now use the second number, and we get that 6.8. Again, it's a decimal number. As I mentioned, this is actually just a standard radian to degrees. So if I say radian to degrees, it would do the exact same conversion, right? Convert this number to degrees and we get 6 degrees. And you see it actually converts it to some of the other formats, right? 51 and 54.6 arc minutes. In this case, again, not useful, but we now know that it is the 51, right? Still not standard GPS format. But if we would take the last number, we can actually pretty easily convert it into partial minutes, right? And we would get slightly further. The same, of course, for the other one, right? So if we took the first number that we had and say, well, I want to convert it from radian to degrees, it would say 45, 49, and then the partial one, right? But this is in a 60 seconds ratio, and we want it in percentage of minutes. So we still have to do an additional conversion. Now, conversion from a decimal to another system. I have other episodes where we talk about that. But if we have the two outcomes of our radian to degrees and we put them in, for example, cache sleuth, and we say convert these, it will quickly convert them to a degree decimal minutes system, right? So we were in decimal degrees system. This is what we had, and we converted it this one. Again, other videos will talk about it in more detail, but a website like Cache Sleuth will quickly do the conversion for you. This is just one way of pi can be used in math. There's many, many other ways. It's just a very simple approach. Not so commonly used, although the technique is often used. You may have seen puzzles where they kind of give you like a delta that you have to add or remove from a certain cache coordinate. It could be as simple, say like, oh, add 100 to north, add subtract something from the latitude, add something to the latitude. Or it could simply give you little pluses and minuses, and that's what you have to how you have to change the coordinate. Well, pi is easily used for that, right? We have a fixed set of numbers, and we can basically just give you a number, and as the solver, you now have to utilize pi to basically say this is the offset. So we could see that right here. This is all that it's given. And now what we'll have to do is take this number, take the digits of pi, so 31415926553. Anyway, you can look those up, right? I will show you that in a second as well. You add that to the number given, and we now get a much longer number. And of course, now breaking this up, we'll get a coordinate again. So a very simple puzzle where we only had to give one number, one mysterious number, but maybe it was published on Pi Day. Maybe the number was shown in the middle of a pi. Maybe there was some other hint that we're talking about pi, right? So this number was all that was needed to be the entire puzzle, and this will now give you a coordinate. Not going to show you in this case, it's almost too simple, right? You just take one number, add the other number, and you get a solution. So yeah, so this puzzle required a few more steps, right? We're dealing here with a cipher, so we're going to use box and tricks to eventually decode the cipher, right, to the actual thing. So if I have here an A and my key is C, then basically if I decrypt it, it would go this way. If I encrypt it, an A becomes a C, a B. Now I have to go back again. So D and so on. It would put the result right here in the middle. So this is how you can encode and decode with this website, whether you encrypt or decrypt. It's just a standard Vigenere where you have to have a length, an input and an output, and then it will subtract or add to it, right? So very standard one-time path implementation. But the benefit of this one is that it accepts a very long encryption key, and that's what we need here, right? We don't have a short 7-10 letter keyword. We have technically an infinite long keyword. So how do we make that? Well, we got this text, right? So initially it just says, well, this is the text that we want to encode. And it says here, well, I only have 2 characters, so I can only decode the first part. So we have to create this encryption key. This encryption key in this case is based on pi, so we need to create that. So I like to use this website if I need pi numbers. So that should be enough, right? Just copy this across. And now you can use or manually transfer this into a key, right? So where basically the 3 should become a D. A is 0, B is 1, C is 2, D is 3, E is 4, etc. So doing it manually would be a little bit of work. So I'm using some tools here to help me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to split basically all this into different words by basically saying make them all words of 1. So basically that puts a space behind all these. So that's the first step. And then what I'm going to use is use a base converter, where basically I say convert it to another base. I have a whole episode about base conversions, but one of the things is that we say, well, if we want to do this conversion, it is kind of like a base 10 to base 10 conversion, where we use the numbers to begin with, and then we convert them to letters. So basically it's a base 10 to base 10 conversion. So we go from base 10 and we only are interested in base 10. And we get this output. So we now get this nice long string. This is our key, right, for our cipher. Only thing that we need to do is we need to get rid of the spaces. It may accept the spaces, but just in case, going back to our transform tool, putting those in there and basically say, well, remove all the spaces. And so now we have our keyword. We can put it in here. This is our encryption key, or in this case, our decryption key, because we're decoding. And you see that it nicely encoded, or in this case, decoded it to the string that we needed. And this was our coordinate. So north 4549.962, etc., etc. So a couple more steps, but the thing is clear, right? And you can encode very long text with it because pi never ends. So you can have a whole bunch of text, hundreds of characters, and make it very hard for people to understand what is going on if they don't realize that it is a pi-related puzzle. As soon as they know it's a pi-related puzzle, they can generate a key as long as you need, or as long as you need, and encode or decode the text that you're looking for. Getting slightly more complicated, we're going to use pi as a so-called one-time pad or a Vigenere keyword. I've talked about this cipher in other videos, in other episodes, and it's a frequently used cipher because it is a cipher that's technically called unbreakable. It's only unbreakable when you don't know what you're looking for. In our cases, we know we're often looking for a coordinate. Makes it a lot more vulnerable to being solved. We often know that it would start with like north or something in English or something in your local language, which makes it much more solvable. But still, it is a very commonly used cipher. One of the things with the cipher, of course, is that people often use keywords. But keywords have a fixed length. No matter what you use, like even if you use like a book as a keyword, at some point you're at the last character in the book and it stops. Well, what doesn't stop? Pi. Pi never stops, as I just mentioned. So technically you can encode an infinite long string with pi, the numbers of pi, because they never repeat, they never end. So it's a very ideal way to do encoding, of course, until somebody guesses it. As I mentioned, knows the expected outcome, right? If it's language, it's still very breakable. But somebody not familiar with it might have a hard time discovering the pattern. So that's what we're going to do here. Um, we have given here this string, and the string will be coordinate, of course, the same coordinate we've been used. And we kind of used the numbers of pi, but now converted them to letters. So like A is 0, B is 1, C is 2, and so D would be 3, and then B would again be 1. So 3, 1, 4, 1, 5, 9, 2, 6, right? So I'll show you how to generate this string as part of the solution, so that you can basically generate as many characters as you need, right? So we don't need it to be the same number. We can do as long as we want, because the keyword will only use as many characters as there are in the source. And so now we're going to use a one-time path or a Vigenere with this keyword. And basically it would be, in this case, Q minus, so you do plus to encode, minus to decode. So Q minus D would be an N, B minus B is an O, right? 2 letters or 1 letter distance. A means no distance. And so V minus, again, 4. And now we get an R, and so on. And that way we decode the string. That's how the Vigenere cipher works. And again, look at the episode. I talk about classic ciphers. I go very deep into these ciphers, how they work, if you want to know more detail. But again, if you see, and we do this, we get a nice decoded coordinate. We didn't have to tell people anything. You would throw this in a cipher identifier. It wouldn't tell you anything, just that it's something difficult. And so there's no repeating pattern, right? Because pi doesn't repeat. So yeah, that's another way of how pi can be used with a puzzle. So one more, we're going to use the book cipher technique and basically use this string that the puzzle gave us, and now say, okay, well, we need to do the offset, right? So we need the third character, and we need the letter, so which gave us the 4, which our coordinate started with a 4, right? 4, 5. And then 1. So this one has a special technique called letter offset that basically continues where the last one took off, so we can see 4, 5. We need to do that with entire pi, so we can take indeed, we need about 15 numbers, right? A coordinate has a maximum of 15. So we'll use that, and in this case, take this, use the same technique that I used before. We'll split it, we'll put it in the book cipher, and we say boom. And note when it runs out of text, right? I put in more numbers than I need, then we don't need any more. We only need the first 14, or this case, 15 is what we need. So 49, 45, 49, 962,006, 51, 910. That is our coordinate that we're looking for. So pretty straightforward. Of course, in a regular book cipher, we would have to kind of add these numbers together, right? So it was 3, and then this one would become 4, and then this one would become 8, and this one would become the 9th, and this one the 14th. It's 23. And now you see it gives us the same beginning. But because this has the offset technique, I can skip kind of that step. So I think you've gotten the whole idea right now about pi, right? Any type of puzzle that you've seen, it doesn't matter whether it's a cipher, whether it's a book cipher, math, any cipher can be slightly modified, or any puzzle can be slightly modified and utilize pi as a part of a solution. And that's what you often see with pi puzzles. If it isn't one of the basic ones that I showed in the beginning, it will often be that it is a variant to a puzzle you've already seen, but instead of maybe using 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or something else, it is using pi as the kind of like the alphabet to work with. So this is a good example of that. We've all dealt probably, if you've solved puzzles, with book ciphers. And again, I have some special videos where I talk about book ciphers if you want to know more about book ciphers. But the idea is that you're working with indexes in another source. So Um, in this case, you don't know which character you're going to use or which word you're going to use or what you're going to use. And pi can kind of like lead us in the way. And again, you can do it in two ways. In the beginning, you saw that we kind of used like an offset in pi. So we said, give us the 4th million character, right? But you can also do it the other way around. You can use the numbers of pi to kind of help the user jump forward into a piece of text or into a larger number. So a piece of text might be tricky because you need to find the right words, but in a larger number, we can just make up the number and put the coordinate in here. So somewhere in here is the coordinate. One of these 4s is the start. One of these 5s is um, the second part, the second number of a coordinate, and one of these 0s is it. But yeah, if you don't see the pattern, it would be very hard to extract the right numbers of this, right? But if we know that pi is being used, it's actually pretty straightforward. So here again, the first digits of pi, starting in this case with the 3. But of course, somebody doesn't have to start there, right? They can tell you, start at 200. 200 what? Well, 200 digit of pi. So I started, of course, at the beginning. Pi is nice in us this way. It doesn't have a 0 in the first few digits, so it's long enough to not have a 0. So we can use it kind of like as an offset letter count book cipher, meaning that the 3 means take the third letter, 1 meant, well, take the next one, then 4 means skip 3 and take the fourth one, 1 means takes the next one, 5 means skip 4, take the fifth one, and so on. So if we follow that, we see that 4, 5, 4, 9, 9, and again, that will give us the coordinates we're looking for, right? Kind of follows this sequence where each time it skips this many numbers. Now there's tools out there that help you with it. So as long as you feed them the right input, that this is the jump you want to do, you can give them this string and then it will extract the coordinate right from it, right? So let's go do that. Let's show how to use that. If you want to make a puzzle like this yourself, it's just a matter of, well, replacing wherever I put the coordinate in here. Put your coordinate in there, and the rest you can just fill with garbage, right? I mean, it's not used, it's just used for skipping. So as long as you skip the same amount of numbers, there. You can find a sentence where works for your coordinate, where the numbers are there, works as well. If you somehow encounter a 0 in your part of pi, what you want to use, so maybe you use a certain offset in pi, not starting at 0 to make it more complicated, you can always say skip this many, right? So skip 3 and then take the next one, skip 1 and take the next one, skip 4 and take the next one. So in that case, you can say skip 0 and take the next one to keep you from moving forward, or to keep you moving forward. So just another way of how pi can be used now with a classic book cipher technique. So that was the end of the examples. I hope you found it useful. This is just a list of the websites I used. This time I didn't solve an actual geocaching puzzle. I'm sure if you search in your area, you'll find some puzzles that are pi related. Simply type in pi in the keyword search and you'll find some pi related puzzles in your area. They're everywhere. It's a pretty common technique. So some of the websites I used, pi website, to get basically digits of pi or do the searching with the pi. Didn't really show this one, but it's worth looking at. It does a lot of things with pi as well and has specific sequences and series. It's been useful in several puzzles, so it's a good one. My favorite math website, there's other ones. Google can do most of the math, but this one is slightly more advanced. To get a lot of numbers of pi, this is a quick and easy one where you can copy and paste a lot of numbers of pi. Some of the websites I use to basically decode and help me transform and do all the things that you saw me do in this episode, right? And then just some of the common technique websites that I used here. So Cache Sleuth and Decode are probably two of my favorite websites to go to. In this case, the Box and Tricks website had a good one-time path that was very usable here and didn't look too busy for the episode, so use that. So yeah, just some common techniques that you can use. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please like the episode so that way it goes up in the rating and other people can find it as well. And learn more about mystery caches, make some mystery caches for you to solve, and of course, maybe help you and work with you. The more people know about mystery caches, the more puzzles there will be out there, but also more people that can work with you, maybe in your area, and maybe solve puzzles together. So if you have some feedback, please let me know. You can comment on the page, always appreciate that. If you have questions or suggestions, or you would maybe like me to discuss some of your puzzles that you have made, and you say, well, this is some of the archive puzzles, maybe take a look at those. Maybe I want to use some of those in your example. Always happy to use somebody else's puzzle as well. You can reach me as waterfan5 on the geocaching.com website, or you can email me at geocacher.waterfan5@gmail.com. With that, thank you very much for your time and your attention. I appreciate it. And hopefully, next time you see a puzzle with pi, you don't have to panic. You know what to do. Thank you.